Hello there, and welcome to Dharma Science Radio, your one-stop shop for the most foundational and potent awareness around the human design body graph analysis that I can possibly deliver for you today. My name is Ian, and in this episode, we're talking about singer-songwriter Taylor Swift. I don't know a whole lot about her personally, however, it's been interesting to look at the chart, so without further ado, one moment, I can't rush myself here. The first thing I need to say is, Taylor, if you happen to see this video and you'd like it to be taken down, feel free to let me know, because I'm about to be airing some dirty laundry out here, and I understand it's a little personal. I also invite you to reach out. We can have a conversation about this stuff and get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on, and I think that'd be a lot of fun. So now, without further ado, let's dive right on in. So the first thing I'd like to say is the profile. We're talking about a 5-1 profile. If you've been following along in this series, you'll know I've been speaking about the 5-1 and the fifth line and the first line already. The fifth line receives the positive expectation from others. The fifth line is always expected to be the best, expected to be the savior, the wonderful person who solves a problem and can really deliver the goods. And if they can't, well, they gain a horrible reputation. They gain a lot of negative press for any kind of bad actions or bad words or impractical decisions. And they tend to be masters of seduction. Now we're looking at a first line in the unconscious. So this master of seduction is coming from a defendable position. They're coming from a solid foundation. In her unconscious design, Taylor is solid. Her body, it knows what it's doing and it's happening. Survival is occurring. Now her personality, and this is interesting because I was looking into these gates a moment ago and I see this 45th gate in an undefined throat. I see the 36th gate in an undefined solar plexus and the 6th gate in the undefined solar plexus. Whereas the 26th gate is sitting here in the defined ego. So we're seeing an ego being in the line of adaptability. So Taylor has a big ego, in case you haven't already noticed. And that's not a bad thing. Ego is essential for what it means to be humans. Our ego is our ability to interpret the programming information from the sun and to generate or to cultivate a sense of self out of that interpretation of the programming information we receive from the sun. And so Taylor is very adaptable. That's the essence. The shining sun of her personality is the adaptability of her ego in transmitting a message. You see, this channel down here is the design of a transmitter. This means that she has something to say, and it's coming through the juxtaposition of her design and personality put together. So while she could easily identify with that nature of being an ego being, that other people amplify her egoic energy and have their own judgments and perceptions about it, and they talk whatever they talk. In this case, we're looking at the fighter and her politeness, I think that says. That's hilarious, the politeness. Opposition that does not transgress normal codes of behavior. For some reason, I'm thinking about some of her songs that are speaking to like high school kids dealing with what they're dealing with young love and all the various things we have and how to actually be polite and correct and still fight for what you believe in. And so the sign that she's on a good track in her life is when people talk shit about what she's willing to fight for what she believes in, for what she really struggles to make happen. And people talking bad about that, being in the personality Neptune, that's a good sign. That's good. The Neptune is the misinformation field. And you see there's multiple activations in this 38. We've got the line of alienation down here in the personality Saturn, and the line of qualification over here in the design Neptune, which has to do with hydration. And so the nature here is that she's willing to fight for what she believes in, and people will talk negatively about that. And it's a good thing, because this is an ego being. You know, we ego beings are a little different from the rest. 70% of the population has an undefined ego, and they're busy proving their worth to other people. They're busy receiving validation and approval from other people. Whereas Taylor, she's got a defined ego. She couldn't care less what you think about her. She knows her worth. You know, she was born that way. And she's got a message. She's got something to say about it. Because in her unconscious, there is this line of aloofness. You see, the fear of tomorrow through the 6th line. Ooh, that 6th line goes through quite a process. I imagine that could relate to why her songs, at least the ones I'm aware of, you know, I don't listen to a whole lot of music necessarily. Mostly electronic stuff. The music that I've heard from Taylor has to do with young love, a lot of it. And so this 6th line through the 44, this 44 is the fear of extinction, the fear of death for us all. And so how does she deal with that? Well, through that 6th line of aloofness. In youth, it's like a 3rd line, trial and error. How to find aloofness? I'm afraid of what's going to happen. And I'm going to make mistakes along the way. And that's going to be okay, because eventually I'll find the aloofness. And that aloofness finds her through the Saturn return, which she's already gone through, is when that aloofness really steps into full gear. And I don't know the timing of when her music came out. However, I wouldn't be surprised if it took a nice turn, a nice shift, once she hit around 29 years of age, 29 to 30, that then the stage of aloofness started to take hold, and she was able to sing around this young love from the perspective of having gone through trial and error, and now having a step back from all that problems and being able to sing about it with the courage and the adaptability of a defined ego, with the strength that then impresses upon the 70% of us with undefined egos. And they really appreciate the strength of a healthy ego. So for that, I give you my thanks for being a demonstration of what it's like to be a healthy ego being on the planet. And I can't say for sure I know you're healthy or not. I'm willing to bet you don't know very much about your human design, so you're probably not waiting for the invitation that you can, Projector. And yet the depth of your recognition is so powerful that when you transmit your message, even if you're not waiting for the invitation, obviously, people recognized it. People see the adaptability of your ego, and they sing praises. And then there's going to be those who complain about it, say you're fighting for the wrong things. What to do, you know? Shake it off. It's no big deal. That's their misinformation. That's your misinformation field, and that's their nonsense. Who cares? And so far I've been focused on the splenic ego connection, this design of a transmitter, somebody who really has something to say.
The biggest problem I was having was getting my head wrapped around all of the content and all of the information held within the human design system. Ian really made it simple for me to engage my curiosity, for one, but made it approachable enough to where I felt like I could immediately get value out of the conversation and immediately start applying things to my day-to-day life, where it didn't seem like some big puzzle I had to solve. It was an immediate solution to something that I was dealing with in my life. How am I going to apply this with any sense of reality. And he made it so simple and so easy that I have now been on another year and a half since that first meeting with him and my first introduction into human design. And it has really given my overall life experience and the quality of my conscious experience a great boost, and overall something I would highly recommend to anyone else that's early on in their years, or even months sometimes, like I was at human design.
I've been following Ian for about a year now, and I got the chance to work with him recently. The way that his knowledge of human design expands when you're in his presence to fit what you need exactly is something that is a joy to work with and a joy to see live in person.
Oh my gosh, this session was so unique because Ian really made it feel like I didn't have to worry about expectations. I didn't have to have a certain outcome be a certain way, and really helped me understand that I could just kind of ease my way into this. And he was so conversational about it that it felt like I looked up and the time had gone so quickly that I wasn't expecting it to be as much value as it was for as easy as it felt.
I definitely recommend getting a reading, getting a chance to work with Ian. He's one of the kindest souls I've met and has a really firm grasp on the information in human design. Definitely recommend.
I would recommend working with Ian for anyone that is wanting to have someone that will be both there to nurture your curiosity about human design and the fun things that you can explore about it, but also will challenge you and push you in a direction that will get you up and moving and using it in your real life. I think more than anything else, if you want to not just mentally know this system, if you want to understand how to apply it and use it and see immediate results, Ian is the person I would recommend for that. I think it is important for people to remember that this is an experiment. It is not something that you can try without trying. Like you can't get the flavor of something unless you've chewed it up and swallowed it, right? And this is one of those things where Ian does such a wonderful job of making each thing that you're experiencing understandable and allows you to apply it with repetition. So it's not just a one-time thing. You learn how to build really good habits and how to build really good ways to honor your own authority in your own life. And from there, he lets you go and then you can fly. It's pretty remarkable how well he sets up my overall experience within human design for the purpose of changing my life, which it really did.
And next I want to look down here. We have the channel of struggle and the channel of judgment. Both made, all three channels in fact, made through the juxtaposition of design and personality. So she's a struggler. And in the mind, if her mind gets identified with thinking about things, and if she's identified with the mind that's thinking about this and that, the struggle is going to be a lot of suffering. I can't imagine how much suffering in youth for these channel of struggle. People with this channel, they're always going to fight for things. They're always going to take risks and fight for what they believe in. It's what they are. They can't help it. There's nothing wrong with that. It's part of what makes us human. It's part of what makes us an individual, is that we have something that we're willing to fight for. Because you see down here in the logical collective, we have the 1858, and this is all about perfecting the patterns. This is about having the joy in the 58 to correct what the 18 says is wrong and needs to be fixed. You see, in our unconscious, there's this willingness to take risks. There's this fear of tomorrow. There's this sense of, oh, well, that's wrong. That's not okay. And it's coming up from the unconscious in her survival instinctual awareness in the splenic center. And then her personality can see, well, I'm going to fight for this because it's wrong and I'm going to fight against it. It's not okay. And in the 58, this is about, well, I'm going to do what it takes to correct the pattern. I'm going to make sure that we have a logical pattern that we can follow, that we can shake off these problems and move on. Because she's got a message, and that message is about How do we deal with the stress of life? You see these two channels right here connecting the spleen to the root. It's said that when you have two channels defining these two centers together, there can be like a struggle or a fight for dominance between the two. And this is about correcting the pattern. And this is about being willing to fight for what you believe in and for what you know to be true, rather. It's all coming through in the message. It's all coming through in the transmission. The fact that there is a struggle in this life. As individuals, we have to struggle to get our truth out there. We have to struggle to exist, whether we're existing in a tribal situation or whether we're existing in a collective situation. That there is a struggle, and the struggle does not have to be suffering. For you see, when the mind is ruling the show, instead of this beautiful transmission of a message that there is suffering on this planet and there is struggle on this planet and we can perfect the pattern and reduce the suffering, it's a beautiful little message there. And yet when the mind is ruling the show, she's very busy looking for direction outside of herself. You see, somebody else has the direction. I'm going to fall for you, and I'm going to fall for you, and I'm going to fall for you, and I'm going to fall for you. Are you my direction? Are you my direction? Are you my direction? I know this struggle very well because I am an undefined G-center person. I know what it's like to look for love outside of myself, and I know how painful that can be. Now, the thing is, though, is we're dealing with an undefined solar plexus. So the nature here is to avoid confrontation and avoid the truth. And yet the joke, if I scroll down a little bit, you can see it, the left angle cross of confrontation. So she's actually deeply about confronting things in her body. You see, this is actually what makes it very trippy. For the personality that Taylor is working with, she's most likely not aware of the fact that she tends to create conflict or tends to go towards the conflict and confront the problems because it's in her body. You see this 6 in the red, this 30 in the red, and 36 in the red. This is all about the unconscious design, the actual body itself living its life. That the body will, say in the 36, the body will create resistance against crisis. That the body will retreat from the friction of conflict. That the body will be pragmatic and find the balance between extremes. However, the personality doesn't necessarily find it easy to identify with that. The personality most likely wants nothing more than to avoid the problems, to avoid the confrontation, because she doesn't know when enough is enough. We're dealing with an undefined sacral here with the 29th gate in the unconscious. So not only is this body creating conflicts or diving headfirst into what could like a conflict, it's saying yes to everything. And it's assessing the situation. It's got this natural persistence that's tempered by caution. So while she is cautious, she tends to say yes a lot. At least used to. Probably had a lot of experiences in life wherein, wow, let me just dive right on in. This person is my new direction. This person is my new expression. This person is my new everything. Because if I can get their attention and pretend to be certain about something that doesn't matter, then we can avoid those problems, and I'll never know when enough is enough. I'll just keep diving deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into my own bitterness. Because I'm saying yes to things without being recognized as a projector. You see, this undefined G-center wants the love and direction from the outside. It wants somebody else to provide a sense of identity and a sense of direction. And especially in the youth, how powerful that pull can be. And yet she's an ego being. She has a sense of self-worth and she's willing to adapt. So in the not self, that adaptability of the ego, even that becomes suffering. Because now I can adapt my ego into anything, wherein even if you don't give me any validation of my worth. Even if you're not giving me the worthiness I know I deserve, I'm adapting to you because at least you help me avoid problems and you give me the direction I'm seeking. You're giving me the attention I want so bad. And I can pretend that my opinions are certain, even though it really doesn't matter. I can pretend that I really know what I'm talking about and I'm really smart. Because you're giving me the attention and the direction to avoid the problems that I really want to avoid. And that's the struggle of the mind. It's the struggle of identifying with what's going on in the mind. And looking at these channels here, the definition between the spleen and the root, this always makes me think of exercise and sweat. People with definition between the spleen and the root, if they have some way to sweat, like if you're in a sauna and you sweat out the salt in your body, you can then replenish it with fresh new salt, and you might find that your health improves. And I wonder what her relationship is with exercise, and if she found that exercise really helped her struggle to perfect the pattern and say something of value would improve with exercise. I don't know much about her, so I don't know if she exercises or not. And yet if you find yourself with these channels or any channel connecting the root and the spleen, try some exercise, I mean, it's a generic advice, and yet for you specifically, exercise and sweat, release the old salt, eat some salty foods, see how you feel. All right, that's about all I have on Taylor for today. I hope you've enjoyed the show. If you have, be sure to like and subscribe. Let other people know about this. Feel free to ask me any questions you'd like to know. Feel free to let me know if there's someone in particular you'd like me to read the chart for, like a famous celebrity or a politician or anybody well-known that others might be interested in learning something about. It's really interesting gaining these insights into what each and every person has going on inside of them that might not always be so obvious until we take a look at what's going on and we can see that these lines were written from the moment of birth and that we're all reading our role. We're all playing a part in this big picture called life. And it's my wish, it's my dream that you can learn to see your life for what it is and be free from the conditioning the world has placed upon you. So I hope you're having a wonderful day. Take care. Bye for now. If you have enjoyed the show and would like to learn more about how all of this applies specifically to you, then kindly refer to the link in this video's description, Private Consultation. Here, we can dive into all of the details together in a recorded call. May your signature vibration of satisfaction, success, peace, and surprise find you in a good way.